We'll start with the Higgs government faces caucus revolt over changes to LGBTQ school policy in New Brunswick. Um, this story for me, the core of the sort of change here that's receiving some backlash is that students under 16 who identify as trans or non-binary rather, won't be able to officially change their names or pronouns in school without parental consult. Yeah, good. Uh, this is the norm for all of society and all of culture forever until the last 6 minutes. Um, the outrage over this, of course your children can't change their genders or do anything. They can't go on a field trip, they can't watch a PG rated movie without getting permission. This is insane to think that this one thing is exempt. Everything else you need permission for, but this one thing is absolutely exempt and unquestioning, and people are acting as though this is a change to the law. This is a rebuttal to a newfangled thought process whereby kids under 16 can have private relationships with their teachers at schools and not keep their parents informed on something as critical as changing their gender identity. This is so sick that this has become normalized, this sort of grooming behavior where teachers, this is literally because we I used to work in a church. We do a whole bunch of training about
Yeah.
what to watch for as grooming behavior, and the number one indicator is people like teachers, or whether it be church workers, teachers, camp workers, your local drag library, story hour performer. One of the key things you look for is targeting children and setting up sort of special agreements of communications away from the parents, because the second you establish that we've got our own little secret, I'm the one, not your parent, that is basically the inroad. That's how people groom. I'm not calling anyone here groomers specifically, but I'm
I might.
saying 100%, this is your textbook grooming behavior. Now all of a sudden in the course of a couple years we've gotten to the point where we're like, yeah, no, I'm outraged that they want the parents to know what's going on with their kids in the school. This is completely backwards. I think that this outrage is manufactured, or at least, or if not, it's completely diluted.
No, you're an absolute weirdo if you think you're going to have a secret with my child without me knowing. I know everything. And if I don't know everything, I'm damn sure going to find out, because that's my job as a parent. No unrelated adult. I don't care if you have access to my kids 7 hours a day. Actually, I care extra if you have access to my kids 7 hours a day without me being there. I want to know what's happening, and you're not going to have secrets with my kid. And if you think you're going to have secrets with my kid, then now we've got a problem. But this is simply, as Adam, you rightly point out, a reaffirmation of normalcy, of normal, appropriate behavior of adults who are in positions of authority and power over other people's children. You don't get to change my child's gender without me knowing. You don't get to change my child's gender whether I know it or not. That's not something that can happen. That's biologically not real. But to think that I don't have any input in any of this, besides just the stomping all over parents' rights and the incompatibility with biological reality,
Mhm.
we know that kids who are struggling with gender identity, whether because they just struggle with gender identity or they've been infected with some sort of social contagion by an activist teacher or TikTok or whatever, we know that those kids are at an increased probability of suicidality. So either they will try to take their own lives, they will have suicidal ideations, self-harm, or they may actually succeed in taking their own lives, because those things go hand in hand. So it is a great irresponsibility for these teachers to not inform. Oh my God, am I frozen? Okay. It's a great irresponsibility for these teachers to not inform the parents that the kids are struggling with their gender identity, because parents need to look out for suicidality. And if you're keeping this secret, this is a secret that could cost a child their life. So if you care about the health and safety of children, you must inform parents every step of the way. Besides the fact that it's completely normal for parents to know what their kids are doing. If like, let's concede their argument. This is about safety. Okay, perfect. Then you must inform the parents.
And there's also the fact that the like breakdown of a natural and healthy relationship with your parents contributes
Yeah.
to that. if the concern here is about safety, well, if the concern is, say, the child is going to be hurt when they get home or they're going to be abused when they get home, well, that would be a matter for social services, and there are metrics in place to tackle those sorts of problems. So that is not what this is addressing whatsoever. But I had a conversation actually with a principal, and the school had a child who was identifying as trans. Now they actually would come to youth group, and they'd sort of feel included and loved, and all that stuff was all good. But the principal's like, oh, well, we don't want to challenge, and we don't want to share any information with the parents or anything like that. And the fact is, for children who are being encouraged, pushed, or sort of at least facilitated towards this outlet before they're in a mental capacity, before they've developed enough to make an informed decision. As you said, the suicidal ideation is something like 50%. Now, you didn't see 50% suicidal ideation during African American slavery. You don't see suicidal ideation during during sex slavery right now in the world. You didn't see suicidal ideation like that during the Holocaust. There's basically
Right.
no time of horrific persecution in human history where you see suicidal ideation sort of reaching anywhere near that level. The only community that experiences that is communities that have are dealing with identity disorders. That's the only place that you see this. So excluding children from their families, alienating them, dividing them, and then encouraging them down this route that is, from the evidence, from what we're seeing clinically, not age appropriate. You're encouraging them towards that path. And these people say that it's in the name of love, it's in the name of inclusivity. It's not. It's in the name of cowardice. If you love these children, you know what? If some kid wants to be called Sally and wants to wear a dress, have a conversation with their parents about it, deal with it in whatever way you have to deal with it, be loving, supportive. Don't necessarily encourage it, but do what you have to do. But covering it up, masking it, concealing it from the parents is categorically wrong, and it is a recipe for disaster. This lies in this sort of underlying progressive mindset that the government knows better for your children than
Yeah.
parents do. Parents will love their children
Yeah.
a million times more than the state ever will. And in the odd cases, whether it's because of substance abuse or mental illness or whatever, where they are not loving their children, then the state can step in and stop those abuses. We need to stop treating parents being like, well, I don't agree with your gender dysphoria because this is what we believe. That is not abuse, plain and simple. Couple more
Yeah, I
stories
think,
on the same
sorry,
wavelength.
I just
Go
want to,
ahead, sorry.
before we button that up, there's a bigotry of low expectations here that
Yeah.
but it's apparently an acceptable bigotry. The presumption here is that Christian parents or parents who object to gender theory are going to be abusive, harmful, or uncaring to their child who is struggling with these things. So these things must be kept from the parents. That's
Yeah.
bigotry. That presumes that those parents are inherently bad parents. Instead, they're probably really great parents who just want to be involved in every aspect of their child's lives, and are being purposefully excluded by activist teachers. So there's an inherent sort of underlying
Oh,
anti-Christian bigotry here that nobody wants to talk about.
absolutely. And we can this is actually perfect. We'll jump one story ahead here.
Sure.
It's very interesting to see that it is always the sentiment that it's anti-Christian and that Christians are the ones doing this. If we can pull up on Twitter, these protests at some of these pride events, we've
Yes.
got these
Yes.
young kids, and they're not Christian. They're Muslim.
Yeah,
They
nature's
are
healing.
stomp Yeah, they're stomping on pride flags. Now, is stomping on flags maybe the
No,
nicest or most appropriate way? But when we're looking at the extremes that we're facing in the society, by juxtaposition, it is certainly not just white Christians who are opposed to this. We saw with Kathleen, when we see right across so many of these things, when they go overboard, it is very often, whether it's the Armenian
is
dads fighting Antifa or this, it's these groups who take a stand.
you know what? Social conservatives are uniting all over the place, and I like to see that. Now, stomping on flags, I don't know. I can understand how that's objectionable, but is it any more objectionable than the Sisters of Perpetual
No.
Indulgence, those men who dress as female nuns to mock the people amongst us who are least deserving of mockery? Nuns, women who devote themselves to a life of service and
Yeah.
chastity and devotion and charity and community. They're being mocked by these men in makeup. So
Yeah.
is that any more offensive than stomping
No.
on some rainbow paper? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I don't. But one is fine. The government will call a hate crime. Except they're Muslim, so
Right.
they'll probably get a free pass
We're gonna
because
ignore it. We're gonna ignore
imagine
it.
if that was a redneck. If that was a redneck in a truck
Oh,
doing burnouts on those, jail immediately.
yes,
This
right.
way, they're going to
Up
pretend
to
they didn't.
jail. That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.